Donald Trump said the following about you, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president?" Mr. Trump later said he was talking about your persona, not your appearance. Please feel free to respond what you think about his persona.
You know, it's interesting to me, Mr. Trump said that he heard Mr. Bush very clearly and what Mr. Bush said. I think women all over this country heard very clearly what Mr. Trump said.
Many people saying today that Carly Fiorina was the breakout star and the winner of last night's debate. I want to go around the table and see who everybody liked and didn't like. And everybody agree that Fiorina was pretty much the winner last night? Anybody feel differently?
Not for me. She rings hollow to me. And that hollowness, I think, is going to become, after she becomes the flavor of the week, it's going to take her down.
She has been tearing up rooms for about 6 months now, under the radar. She's been so on, and I think the whole country got to see her for the first time last night. I think she's going to really take off in the polls from this.
I think so too. I think she's articulate, she's smart, she seems to know the substantive issues, she talks policy, and she probably is right now the best hope against Hillary Clinton, assuming Clinton can get through all her scandals.
And we'll have more on that in the next segment.
She definitely came out ahead. The first hour, Andrew, I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. She's not ready for prime time. I thought she pretty much stunk it up the first hour in terms of based on her performance on the undercard in Cleveland. But once she got going and once she spun that Trump question, and at times it seemed like she was the only one putting Trump in his place. So she did pretty good last night. Expect her fundraising. Wait, I'm talking from performance as a journalist.
She started strong in the California Senate race. What happened?
Yeah, she lost, but she was up against a strong incumbent. But her fundraising numbers are going to go up, and her poll numbers are going to go up tremendously.
Richard, who do you think didn't do well last night?
I was surprised that John Kasich sort of disappeared. Given that he was viewed as having had the strongest, most dignified performance, dignity became passivity in this case. He's a fine guy, but I thought he just sort of didn't do what he needed to do.
Scott, who laid an egg for you?
I thought several of them did. I mean, I was disappointed in 3 or 4 performances. I didn't think Ben Carson did it particularly well. I mean, I like his demeanor, but in that setting, it just didn't fly, and he seemed to lose track of his thoughts. I also think Walker didn't do well. I don't think Huckabee ever does well. I don't know why he's on the stage, frankly. And I don't think Rand did well. The whole first beginning with Rand and Trump, I thought, was a disaster.
See, I actually thought Rand Paul did do pretty well. I thought he was strong on the ISIS stuff. I thought he took a contrarian point on a couple of other issues. And he certainly did better than the first debate.
The Iraq War issue, where Paul took a principled position. You can disagree with it or you can agree with it. I don't believe that American boots on the ground are generally a good thing. It's a last resort. Stop bullying your way around the world. There is a streak of the Republican Party that's going to like that.
You know what? That's a good point. Just quickly, that's a very good point, because one of the people who did well was Marco Rubio.
Very good night.
He said something that I thought was kind of on that point, which is if you're going to start using American military, do it to win. You just don't bomb, use it to win. And I thought he was very articulate about it.
I thought he had a terrific night last night after Carly. I think he was the winner. With Rand Paul, whenever I see Rand Paul up on the stage, I always walk away respecting him, but I don't walk away seeing him in the Oval Office. And that's the difference. You respect the guy for his convictions, but I don't see him as a president.
I agree. Scott Walker did not have a good night. I would go as far as to add that he's starting to appear, in my opinion, as an empty suit. It's almost like, dude, how did you ever become the governor of Wisconsin? And how did you fight successfully that recall effort? But in fairness, we're talking about the losers. As someone who's done high-profile debates, that format is disgusting and horrible. You cannot get across 2 words unless you're Donald Trump. You have to constantly assert yourself. It just doesn't play like Chris Christie for the first hour. It was almost like the governor of New Jersey was not there.
I thought Christie did well.
Christie had the best performance
he had a good
of
night.
anybody. He was so relaxed.
Yeah.
Wait, Chris Christie?
I thought he had a good night.
What? Oh, wait. You said the best performance of the night.
Of anybody. He was relaxed.
Oh, my God.
He was articulate. He made his points. He was almost likable. I don't say that's the real Chris Christie. But I'm saying if you're judging just the performance at the debate, I thought he did very well.
I agree. I thought he was.
Christie's like watching A-Rod play for the Yankees. I mean, he might hit the ball out of the park, but you're thinking the whole time, Steroids. Like with Christie, whatever he was saying, and I thought he had a
That's
good night.
unfair to A-Rod. I'm serious. I'm serious. When does Chris Christie ever hit the ball out the park?
All right,
Ever.
when he hits a
Ever.
double.
Oh, he does. He does.
I thought he did well last night.
He's
I really did.
extremely comfortable.
He had one good stage can talking point. Oh, you two have done very well in your careers. What about the middle class? I mean, come on.
And when Fiorina went at him about record, because he was like, you guys are talking about your record the whole time, Fiorina's like, yeah, record's kind of important. And all anybody could think, or at least what I assume is
Bridge.
The bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, no, the question for all of them was who survives, not who wins, not who loses. The interesting question to me is whether Jeb Bush, who is the mainstream candidate of the corporate side of the Republican Party, has done enough to move back to double digits. That, I think, is the sign to look for as to who won, who lost.
Scott, did Jeb Bush help himself last night?
I think it's deuce in the tennis term. He had moments, but he does not have a poker face. In a debate, you've got to know how to be not animated. When he gets attacked, you can see it in his eyes. And it's going to hurt him, and he gets flustered. His best line was "Energizer Bunny." I mean, and that's the end of the. I mean. And he looked weak by
His best
demanding.
line was admitting he had smoked marijuana.
That was a good line.
Well, it was a good
My
line.
mom
People
is
liked
not
it.
gonna like this.
But by demanding Trump apologize and Trump saying no, he just looks weak, I think.
Bill, you talked before about character and getting a sense of their temperament.
Yes.
I don't think Bush is really doing himself any favors in that regard. He didn't last night.
He's not a comfortable politician. There's no question about that. But you see, for me, I see glimpses of humanity in that, where I see a Ted Cruz who always has maybe the right, for him, polished answer, always looks straight to camera. He's face to camera every time, always does it perfectly, but comes off as plastic to me.
Plastic? How about as a mean son of a gun?
And I don't
He's
know
the
if
meanest man on television.
He's a very bright guy, but he doesn't connect
You don't
with
get
me.
mean. You just get don't connect.
No, I
just,
get,
he seems so mean. The attack on Justice Roberts, he may have been right, he may have been wrong, was mean-spirited.
Right, he wrote a column in favor of Roberts in National Review.
Irrelevant to the point I'm making,
Right.
at least, which is I viewed Cruz as failing a TV test, not a debate test, not a candidate test.
Dominic, I was trying to figure out whether Donald Trump did well last night, whether Donald Trump didn't do well last night, and it dawned on me, I have no idea. I can't tell anymore. Well, we thought the McCain thing was going to hurt him. We thought the Fiorina thing was going to.
No, you guys thought. I never thought that stuff was going to hurt him.
What do you think from last night? I have no read on him.
When he goes after Jeb Bush on speaking Spanish, that makes his poll numbers go up in his base. See, it's almost the exact opposite of what you think would hurt him. When he went after McCain, I knew his numbers would go up because McCain is not loved by all Republicans.
Dominic is making a point.
Of course I'm right.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
But it is that to a certain extent, all of the candidates are constrained by their electorate. And this electorate is homogeneous, right-wing, and Brooks Snow descent. And that's the ultimate limitation of the debate.
Donald Trump, up or down from last night?
Down.
Down?
Yeah.
Scott?
Yeah, I think he's going to go down.
People are getting sick of it.
Yeah, and the bluster all took place in those first minutes where nothing was discussed. I mean, then he just became kind of.
But he's been doing this from the beginning.
He
It's
has.
been all bluster and no
They've
specifics.
been
Why
wrong
now?
straight through.
Yeah, he's going to fix it.
They're
I'll stick with it.
wrong now. Look, he'll have peaks and valleys, but for the race to
I
change,
think one valley and he's done.
he's at 32%.
One valley is done.
Carson's at 19. No one else is above 7.
Giuliani was at 40 this time.
I don't doubt that he can fall, but someone's going to have to replace him. Who?
Carly Fiorina.
Yeah,
Dominic,
Arena.
Trump from last night, up or down?
I expected for him to be attacked much more than what actually went down last night. He had a decent performance. He had a very slow start, but I don't know why they're playing the game on his stage. The other candidates, you've got to bring it to him and bring it to him consistently and expose him as an empty suit when it comes to politics.
That's a really good point. And of course, CNN did everything they could to get Trump to be
Right.
argumentative.
Right.
You know what? And the candidates took the bait. Don't talk about Trump. You know, I don't care what Trump said. Here's my position. Here's what I'm going to do. Carson fell into it 2 or 3 times.
That would have been the best single answer anyone could have given when they were asked about Trump. Look into the camera and say, I don't care.
Well, what I found interesting,
It would have been.
what I just found interesting about Carson was that he was confronted several times. You said this in a negative way about Trump. And on stage, he completely walked back on every single one.
And they asked him, what would you say to Mr. Trump?
Right.
Don't say anything to Mr. Trump. Here's
Right.
what I have to say. I don't
Right.
care if the guy to my left.
Well, that's the last guy on the list that I want to go around the panel with, Ben Carson, because I mean he got the vaccination thing, and he's the brain surgeon, and he's saying we need to cut back on vaccinations. And I mean that was so far afield from where I think medical
It's the
is.
electorate.
It's the electorate.
Up or
You're
down
right.
for Carson?
I don't think
up or down for
Carson-
Carson.
Neutral.
Neutral.
He's the flavor of the month, and I mean that literally.
Scott.
I like him as I do Jeb, but I think I don't think he was on his best game.
Phil?
Yeah, same thing. I like him very much, but I don't think he was on his best game last night.
Okay, I thought last night was one of the worst debates in terms of how it was run and also from what I was hearing that I think I've ever seen. And we're going to get into that in our next segment. And also, if Carly Fiorina was the winner of the debate last night, is that potentially dangerous for Hillary Clinton? Stay with us.